okay? And the grid is gonna take away from some of that. So my experience benching in the grid stitch is that it's much harder to Hey guys, Coach Ben here, bigbenchas.com, and today we're talking about grid stitching your bench shirt. All right, is that something that you're gonna wanna do? So I have a Inzer SDP here. There is an available add-on for grid stitch if you order off their website, okay? And grid stitching is something you can do to bench shirts. Now, in my experience, I did not like the grid stitching of the shirt, and I'll tell you why. Okay, when you have it grid stitched, of course there's going to be these little boxes of stitching and stuff, and what this does is it locks up the bench shirt, prevents it from really stretching more. All right, and it really prevents the shirt from stretching how it's meant to be stretched. All right, how these fibers are meant to stretch apart. Of course, when you're benching, those fibers slowly stretching, and that's what give you that recoil, that pop, if you will. Okay, and the grid is going to take away from some of that. So my experience benching in the grid stitch is that it's much harder to touch. Okay, you just have to be a lot more patient with it. The fiber will start to give a little bit, but certainly not to the degree that the shirt will stretch just how it's designed normally. Okay, so when you add stitching to it, it's definitely going to lock the shirt up a lot sooner. So you're going to hit this point and the shirt's just not going to want to stretch for you. All right, I do not recommend grid stitching your bench shirt if you're a beginner. Unless you're very advanced, you know what's going on, and you're familiar with the shirts, you're patient with your touching, you don't sacrifice position to touch, then maybe you think about it. But definitely for a beginner, I wouldn't even begin to entertain the idea of grid stitching a bench shirt or buying a grid stitched bench shirt. All right, so also what I experienced was much less pop. So it held position much more like a denim shirt, if you will. All right, where it's gonna have a lot of stopping power. It's going to stop you at a certain spot because that stuff's not gonna stretch. All right, but if your body weight is off or whatever the case may be, you are not gonna be able to touch very easily. All right, because it's just gonna lock up at a certain point, and that's kind of the effect the grid stitch gets. And as a result of that, you don't really get that spring off the chest that you're probably looking to expect. It's gonna be much more you having to fire that weight off your chest from that spot. So while it'll hold position very strong for you, all right, you're gonna have to create a lot of stability to fire that weight back, and the groove is probably gonna be a little less forgiving. So that's why I'm not a big fan of getting the shirt grid stitch. I can see there being some value if you have an older shirt that's already starting to wear out and stretch on you, and you wanna preserve its life a little bit longer. Then maybe you go and send it in for an alteration to have it grid stitched. But in terms of getting a new shirt, especially if it's going to be, it's brand new, it's tight on you, this is a 52, this is really sizing down for me, okay? I do not want a grid stitch because it's already gonna take some time to break this shirt in, to let it stretch. I definitely do not wanna have a grid stitch on it to begin with. Later down the line, if this shirt starts to really stretch out on me, maybe I lose some weight, potentially I think about getting it altered and adding the grid. But that's pretty much where I see the grid stitch being applied to bench shirts, is more of an alteration than something that you're gonna order the shirt brand new with. All right, so beginners, take that grid stitch right out of your head. Don't worry about that right now. Advanced athletes, if you want to preserve your shirt a little bit longer, send it in for an alteration to get it grid stitched. But realize you might lose some of that pop that you expect from your shirt. All right, guys, Coach Ben here. You know where to find me. You can meet me on a bench. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel over here. Check out the links in the description box below. You can see a video related on this topic right here, and then our latest video right there. Thanks for watching.